Word problems on combined variation. A couple of things that are important to note. The only time you make a fraction bar is with inverse variation. And you're always going to put a k after the equal sign. That is called the constant of variation. And your first job is always to find the value of k. I'll show you all that as we go along. Okay, drag force F on a boat, anytime you see the word varies, that's when you're going to put your equals k. So we have the force in front of that. So that's in front of the equal sign. Jointly, that's not inverse variation, that's joint variation. So I'm just going to put that next to the k. Everything else is straight across. Jointly with this wet surface area A of the boat and the square of the speed S of the boat. Okay, so that's our basic equation for this one. So this one didn't have inverse variation at all. A boat with a wet surface area. Now I fill in all the parts. I never know K to begin with. That's my first job. So the area is 83, traveling at 20 miles per hour. Okay, that's the speed, and I have to square it. Experience a drag force of 996 newtons. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and find K. Now 20 squared is 400. So I'm going to have 996 equals 83 times 400 is 33,200. K. And then divide both sides by 33,200 so that K is by itself. So 996 divided by 33,200 is 300ths, so 0.03. That's your value for K. So you're going to use the exact same equation that you came up with at the beginning, only this time we know a value for K. And then you go to the next sentence and fill in all the rest of the pieces. Find the wet surface area, so we don't know the A, of a boat traveling 18 miles per hour, that's the speed, and experiencing drag force of 1,215 newtons. Okay, so 18 squared is 324. You always have to do the exponents first. So I have 1215 equals 300ths times 324 is 9.72a. I'm going to divide both sides by 9.72. 1215 divided by 9.72 is 125. Top cancels with bottom. So that is the area. So it's 125 feet squared. Okay, the next one. Suppose that the amount of time it takes to build a highway varies. Okay, so we have time in front of that. So varies, anytime you see varies, you put equals K. We have time in front of that. Directly with the length of the highway, and inversely. Inversely means you make a fraction bar with the number of workers. Okay, so that's my equation. Suppose that it takes 200 workers. So I'm just going to fill in all the pieces. I never know K. So I've got 200 workers, 3 weeks, that's time, to build 2 miles, that's the length of highway. Okay, so I need to stop and find K. So I'm just going to go ahead and cross multiply here. 3 times 200 is 600 equals 2K. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So I get 300 for K. So I use the same equation that I came up with before, except I know that the value of K now is 300. Now you go to the next sentence. how many miles of highway, so we don't know the length, could 250 workers, that goes in the denominator, build in 6 weeks? Again, I'm just going to cross multiply here. So 6 times 250 is 1,500 equals 300 L. Divide both sides by 300. The 2 zeros on the end cancel with these 2 zeros. So 15 divided by 3 is 5. And that's the length. So the length is miles. So 5 miles is how much they're going to be able to build in 6 weeks. Suppose that the maximum weight of a certain type of rectangular beam can support varies. So varies means equals K. And in front of that, we're talking about the weight. Inversely means make a fraction bar as its length. And jointly, okay, jointly goes in the numerator. The only thing that goes in the denominator is inverse. So jointly as its width and the square of its height. So that's my equation. And again, I don't know what K is. It's going to give me everything else. Suppose also that a beam 3 inches wide, 4 inches high, and the height is squared, and 6 feet long, can support a maximum of 28 tons. Okay, so I got to find K. So I'm sorry, 6 times 28 is 168 equals, okay, 4 squared is 16. 16 times 3 is 48. So 48K, divide both sides by 48. 168 divided by 48 is 3.5. Okay, that's my value of K. So go back up to the original equation that you made, except this time we know that K is 3.5. And go into the next sentence and start filling in the pieces. What is the maximum weight? So we don't know the weight this time. That could be supported by a beam that is 5 inches wide, 4 inches high, and you have to square the 4. The height is squared, and 20 feet long. Okay, well, you're just going to remember this is 16. So 3.5 times 5 times 16 divided by 20 is 14. So 14 tons.